Hi everybody, it's me, Billie, and you're listening to the Billie Eilish Takeover on Amazon Music. I'll be telling you a little bit about my songs and take you into my creative process a little bit and share some stories with you. Thank you for listening. Connecting to fans looks like shows to me. There is nothing better than the connection that I feel when I stand on stage and I look down and, have these connections with all these people. The entire show I feel like I'm having silent conversations with these kids. And I don't know, I feel close to them, I feel friendly with them. I don't know, I sometimes forget that I'm not their friend because I feel that they're my friend. That's what I would call the connection with my fans. That's how I feel. That's the epitome of it. It's not the internet, it's not fan accounts, it's in person, eye contact, and, just being there together. And everything else is important too. I love the fan accounts. It makes me deliriously happy. But in person, when I get to look at you and be with you and maybe hug you or something, it's like there's nothing like that. That's a raw emotion and connection, and there's nothing like it in the world, and I crave it and I miss it. Hey, this is Billie Eilish, and you're listening to the Billie Eilish Takeover on Amazon Music. It's my own station, and I get to talk to all of you, tell you a little bit about my music, and take you into my process and share some stories with you. I'm so happy you're here. Post-show Billie is depending on if I feel that I was good or not. That's really how my mood lands. It's really, I just go backstage and I'm a big ball of sweat, and I go backstage and I drink water and I eat chips, and the only difference with me and post-show me is that because everybody I know is out watching my show, I end my show and I come backstage and they're all out there still. So I leave the stage and go to my green room alone, completely alone. Just alone and waiting in my green room while everybody else is watching my show that I just ended. It's really weird. So I have to wait 10 minutes for everybody to come backstage and come see me. It's really funny. I guess I would have thought before I did this myself, you come off stage and everybody is waiting for you and they cheer for you the way that they would if it was some sort of dance recital or something. I don't know, but no, I go backstage and I walk alone through the halls of the dark arena, and I go into my little empty green room and I sit there alone and wait. It's really funny. But I'm always on an incredible high, on an insane adrenaline rush. So it's always fun, even when I'm alone. Sometimes it's not if I'm, not happy, but I usually am. So. I love Party Next Door, and I love this album, and it came out right at the beginning of quarantine, and I was working out every morning on my Pilates reformer, laying on my floor, and I would listen to this album the whole time. And so it just reminds me of that. And driving back and forth from my brother's house making the album, I would listen to it a ton. I have a lot. I love this album. I really love this album. So I had a lot of songs I wanted to throw in here from this album. Zanny. Mainly I just was friends with so many people that lost their personalities because of drugs and alcohol. I think that really drugs are what pushed all those people away from me. I didn't want to be around them. And I wasn't. I stopped being around them. So, it's a whole world of stuff, but it was just pissing me off how normalized it was and how everyone was fine losing their personality. I was like, okay, I don't want you to, and I also don't want to, so I'm not gonna just sit here and be like, oh, you take this lightly. So that's really what Zanny came from, and that's kind of it, to be honest. making this book was a lot of work and sweat and tears, really, but a very, very satisfying end result, and I just couldn't be happier with how it came out, and it was fun. You know, I did it with Laura and Chelsea and Michelle and my mom, who are like, that's just my girls. And we spent weeks working on this and picking pictures and then narrowing it down and picking more and narrowing it down and da-da-da-da-da. It took so long, and then it just came out so well. I mean, it came out even better than I thought, and I don't know, I love it. I think it's super cute. When the Party's Over was a song that Phineas had written, and it's weird. That one, I didn't relate to it in my life at the time, but I thought it was so beautiful. And then, like, when it actually came out, I did relate to it. And it's weird how that happens. So, yeah, I think it's really nice to just the aging of the way that art ages, you know? It's just, I love it. I think we should all welcome art aging into different things for us. My inspiration has really just been whatever I feel. I haven't been following a rule book on, you know, what I'm gonna wear and look like and say and do and what era is this. Like, I have to make sure it fits in the era. I really haven't been doing that. I've really been just trying to self-diagnose how I'm feeling and think about what I really want to be doing and just go from there. What do I want and what do I feel right now? And it doesn't matter what I think I should want or what I, you know, think somebody else would think I would want. It just matters what I actually want, and that's how I determine what I do, really. That's the way you should always do it, I think. I felt like, again, opened my songwriting abilities, like made them stronger, and that just it was just fun. It was a really fun, eye-opening experience, and I think that more people should look at their situation from the other person's point of view, because all we want to do is push everybody else's thoughts away from ours and just think, what do I feel? But sometimes we should think about what other people might be feeling. I know it's a crazy idea, but we should. Okay, Lost Cause, baby. Phineas and I were almost done with the album, and we had like three spaces left, or two, I don't even remember. And we kind of had just made a deadline, and so we were kind of like anxious. Like, this was honestly, in making this album, it was the only time in the entire process that we actually were stressed about finishing it, because up until that point we didn't have any deadlines, we didn't have any plans at all. We were just making songs, and we made a bunch of them, and so we had set goals for ourselves. We knew we wanted 16 tracks, we knew we wanted it to come out in a certain region, we knew when we wanted it to be done, we knew blah 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 blah, and we were like kind of stuck. And I remember telling Laura, I was like, oh, we're not writing, like, we're not really inspired, and, like, I'm really worried we're not gonna get anything done. And literally the next day, we wrote an entire song, and then the next day we wrote an entire song, and then the next day we wrote an entire song. And I think that Lost Cause was, like, right in between them. And so we had sent this song we had made, and then we just wrote Lost Cause and sent it right away, and then sent another one. And so nobody really got a chance to, like, kind of digest it. And I didn't even really either. We made it, we were like, oh, this is cool, let's send it. And over time, the more I played it, we would talk about how, like, we feel like we hadn't really listened to it that much, because it was right in the in-between period of, like, finishing the album and finishing this song and finishing this song, and it was a complete new song that we made from scratch, and the other ones were, like, knew them better, whatever. Anyway, I just mean that it really grew on us, and, like, the more I listened to it, the more I fell in love with it, and it just makes me feel like a bad bitch. I don't know. I love it so much. I think it's it's just such a slap in the face, I feel like. And I love a slap in the face song. So, yeah, this is Lost Cause. This is a favorite of mine, currently probably one of my favorites off the album, right in this moment, even though the whole album is my favorite. I love it. I'm so proud and happy with it. So, enjoy. I don't know how it's gonna feel to release this album. I would say that every time I put anything out, it doesn't feel real. Like, it doesn't actually feel like it's being put out, and it doesn't... It's kind of like having a birthday, you know? People are like, how does it feel to turn 20? And you're like, I mean, it feels the same as yesterday. Like, it doesn't actually feel different. It's just scary, you know? And it's weird, because you think it should feel like something, but for me, I really don't feel it. I mean, it's nerve-wracking, and it's, like, anxiety-inducing, but it also feels not real somehow. So I hope that I'm just not stressed, and I hope that I'm just laughing somewhere and enjoying my life and having a good time and not worried about it, because as soon as it's coming out, I have no control anymore, and that's a scary thing. So I'm just gonna not be worried about it, and I'm just gonna let it have whatever life it has. Ferrari. So, The Neighborhood is one of my favorite bands in the world. Jesse is a saint and the cutest little bean and the nicest dude ever. I mean, the nicest, and such a huge inspiration for me and Phineas. And my first concert I ever saw was The Neighborhood. Wiped Out is probably like one of my favorite albums in the world. I think that it's so solid. It just didn't miss at all. Nothing in that album is like a skip for me. I love that album. I think it's so solid, and like everything about it, the aesthetic, the videos, the lyrics, the artwork, it's like it all just works, and it's really amazing. And same with, you know, every album they had before. I've loved them for years and years and years, but Wiped Out really hit me. Ferrari is one of my favorites, and that song, I have like a whole thing about Ferrari, which is that I should not listen to that song too much, because it puts me in a very dangerous mood. Like, it makes me want to go do bad shit. Like, I want to go ruin somebody's life to that song. So I have to be careful what mood I'm in when I listen to that song. Yeah, that's why I picked this one. I just think it's such a bad bitch anthem. I don't know. I love it. So, this is Ferrari. Bury a Friend. This one was fun to make. It was really fun to make. We made it on my brother's birthday, and we were in Chicago in between shows, and we just like went to a studio, which is crazy because we never do that, but we wanted to make music, and we went to a studio and we made Bury a Friend in like 2 days. And it was amazing. It's just so weird how life works, you know? Things just don't line up, and then they do, or they don't, you know? It's so weird. It's the same with, you know, people, or, you know, songs or movies or clothes. Things just grow on you, and they change you, and like, you have to be in the exact headspace to like something as you do to hate it. I feel like there are days sometimes where I see a movie and I'm like, you know what? If I was in a bad mood, I would have hated that. But I wasn't in a bad mood. And that's kind of weird. That's like, I feel like that's like not fair, you know? Our moods depict everything. It's such a random, weird, cool coincidence that we happen to be in the right mood when we meet a certain person, and then we maybe fall in love with them. We happen to be in the wrong mood when we, you know, see this movie and we don't like it. It's just, or at least that's how I feel. But it's something I think about a lot, is the way that we change just based on the day, you know? So Bad Guy, we started Bad Guy with the beat, and it was just the that's how it went. And like, cause for us, we start in a million different ways. I mean, it's like always different. Like, we can start with a beat, we can start with lyrics, with melodies, with a chord, with piano, with guitar, with ukulele, with an idea, with a recording. Like, it's like, it really starts in sorts of ways. And this one started from a beat, and we had no idea what we were gonna do. And we just started off with this, like, and we were like, wow, one note? That's really interesting. That's really unique. No, it's not. And we just wrote this verse that was so weird and odd and, like, random. What if it's like they think they're the bad guy, but then I'm actually the bad guy, and, like, I don't know. This is bad guy. Eight is a cute one. Well, I grew up as a dancer, so I basically found every song I've ever loved from dance and classes and teachers and this and that. And so when I first started out, I mean, the only reason I made music at all was because a dance teacher asked me to make a song. And so, like, that's literally how I started. And since then, I've always thought about dance when making music. I think that it used to be all I think about, and now I think about, you know, a whole list of things, and also including that. But yeah, I used to just only think about how can somebody move to this, because I used to say, like, if you can't move or dance to a song, then is it really a song, you know? That's what I feel. It's kind of a metaphor for climate change and, like, the devil. I don't know. It's like, there's a lot of metaphors in there, but it's mainly about just the ignorance, I think, of climate change, and the, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but if you listen to it, I think you can hear those little kind of metaphors for climate change and for weird shit. I don't know. There's a lot. It's like hard to explain that one. The differences between me and Little Rosalia, both of us being very creative people, it was pretty difficult. I'm not gonna lie. It was hard for us to both collaborate, I felt like, because we are both very strong-willed people, and we're both very, you know, creative people and really want things to be our way. And so it was a real undertaking to get us to both be happy. You know, it was hard. It was actually really hard, which is, like, kind of funny. But she's a doll, and we still love each other, and, like, it wasn't awful. It was just literally, it was a project, you know? It was a lot of work. You know, two people that want everything the way they see it, it's hard to make them both, you know, pleased. So it was a lot, but it was very fun. What? And burn. So I'm not gonna tell the whole truth about this one because everyone will be mad at me. But basically, when we made Watch, one of the songs of mine, I will not comment about how I felt about Watch, but I liked the lyrics of Watch, so I just wanted to make my own version. So I went into my room and recorded my own version of the song, made my own beat. It was exactly the way that Ann Byrne sounds, and I remember playing it for everyone, and they were like, okay, this is cool, but we already have the song. And I just was like, I don't want that version, I like this version better. So then it was this whole thing, and I'm not going to get into it, because, wow, I don't ever want to go back to that period of time. But the compromise was, let's put out both versions. The version I like, and then the version that the label likes, or the team, or whatever. And so Ann Byrne I love Ann Byrne. I think it's so cool, and I was so proud of it at the time. And Vince is on it, and Vince is, like, my big brother. I love him so much. So, yeah, that's kind of the story without me going in on my real feelings about Watch. But, yeah, so Ann Byrne is, I love it. I love it. That's all I'll say. It's funny. It's really funny, like, working on a new album. I, like, you know, I'm so focused on the new one that I like forget about the old stuff and how much I love it, and like don't, you know, it's been a while since I've listened to a lot of it, and so I feel like now when I listen to it, like I forget the lyrics, I don't really remember them. It's really weird, and I haven't done shows. That's the main thing, is I'm like not doing shows right now because you can't yet, and so I don't have something to constantly remind me how the songs go. So I'm like so in album mode that I like am forgetting my old stuff, but it's still here, don't worry. Nobody's losing it. We're still here. Working through, you know, not being on the same page with my brother. It's good and bad, you know, because it's good. It's bad because, you know, when you're siblings, it's a really vicious argument, you know what I mean? That's a really vicious one. Like, you can't have a light argument with a sibling, I feel like. And when you do have them, they're raw. So that's the downside, but the upside is that, again, as siblings, when you have an argument, you come right back immediately. You know, when you have an argument with a friend or somebody you know or anything, like, you kind of need a while to bounce back and get normal with each other and not be weird and like, oh guys, and do this and that, and it's like a whole thing. But with a sibling, you scream at each other and you call each other names, and then you're like, hey, are you guys hungry? And then it's over, you know? So there's good and bad things. Luckily, Phineas and I love each other. Like, we love each other and we make each other laugh, and we are best friends anyway and hang out anyway, like all the time, because we just enjoy each other's company. So that's really lucky, you know. I mean, we wouldn't do this if we didn't like each other, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that we just are really lucky in that world, and, we've just grown so much and gotten so much better at working together, and I don't know, for the last year I've felt so much more creative and just better. I feel so much better at doing this, and I used to hate it, honestly, and I've really enjoyed it lately, and so it's a balance. It's like it's a balance. I don't know. I think that every sibling is different, but for us, we've kind of figured it out. I mean, we still have arguments all the time, but we also are best friends, so it doesn't really matter in the long run. Listen before I go. Oh my god, I remember being really young and like being nobody. We like didn't really know what we were doing yet, and so we like rented out a studio for the day. Because we were like, maybe we need to have a studio, maybe we can't make in our bedroom. And we just played piano and sang all day and wrote this really sad song. Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs. I'm very proud of that one, and I remember so well the day after we wrote that song. My dad and I drove up to the mountains in the snow, and we parked in this big empty parking lot, and we got out and we walked through the snow, and we found this like observatory dome thing and that was open, and we just went inside, and I remember playing the song in this freezing dome in the mountains with my dad, and playing it up in the car, like when we were going up the mountain and down the mountain. That's like my main memory with Listen Before I Go.